I am celebrating 20 years in education. As part of my celebration, I am going to be sharing different parts of my journey with you. I'm going to be reflecting back on different scenarios and different experiences that I have experienced as an educator. I had rules that I lived by in the classroom. I found these rules to be detrimental to my practice, and they enabled me to do what I needed to do as an educator. Once I put these items in place, it ensured that I fostered an environment that was conducive to learning and growth for my students. The first rule that I implemented in my classroom was start hard and then go soft. If you go into the classroom and you start off trying to be friends with your students and you're just concerned with having them like you, that is a recipe for disaster. Because by the time spring break rolls around, those kids are going to be running ramshod over you. It was important that I started every school year off hard, and then I would lighten up as the school year went on. The premise of this rule is that by the time you start to go soft in the middle of the school year, the kids will already be used to your ways, your rules, and your expectations, and it will be second nature for them. So therefore, when you do start to lighten up, the kids are going to easily revert back to those expectations and conduct themselves according to your expectations. I learned this rule from a veteran educator. The second rule that I would implement is to scare them straight. At the beginning of the school year, I would have a presentation, and I had the students to take notes from this presentation. This presentation consisted of all of the class rules, the things that they could not do, what they could do, and how they were expected to do it. Normally, when I got done going through this presentation, the children would be running scared. Some of them would go to guidance and say, take me out of her class. I don't want to be in her class. And some of them would leave. But those that stayed, they would come to find out that the rules that were put in place were actually to their benefit. And it really didn't bother them as much as they thought that they would. They would come to me and say, Miss B, I thought that you were going to be mean and horrible and I wasn't going to like you. But it wasn't like that at all. But the point of the exercise is, in the beginning, they knew that I meant business. And once they knew and understood that I meant business and I was going to stick by the rules that I had put into place, everything went smoothly. The next rule that I taught by in my classroom was making sure that I got to know each and every single student. This may seem like a difficult thing to do, but it's really not that difficult, and it makes everything so much more worthwhile if you just take the time to do it. At the beginning of every class, I took about 5 to 10 minutes just sitting there having a discussion with my students, calling them out, asking them questions. How was their weekend? How did this go? Just having generalized conversations with them. Then once I gave the students their assignments, I would go to my desk. This is the time that I would utilize to get to know my students. I would call them to my desk one by one. I always had a chair at the front of my desk where the kids could sit. And I would talk to them and get to know them and find out what their hobbies were. And if something was bothering them, I would be a listening ear for them. This is the way in which I built a relationship with my students. It also allows the students the opportunity to get to know you as well. And you get the opportunity to demonstrate for them that you care about them as an individual. Building a relationship with my students has made all the world of difference for me as an educator. It helps with classroom management. It helps with motivating the child. You know what they like and what they don't like, so you can use that knowledge to help you to appeal to the child. Calling the students back to my desk one by one is also a method that I would use when I wanted to get them to turn in work. I would have their grades up and what they were missing, and I would call them back to my desk and we would sit and have a discussion about it. Sometimes I would threaten to call their parents, and if the child was particularly scared of you calling home, this method definitely worked because they did not want you to contact their parents. Or sometimes the child was on punishment and they needed that grade to come up in order to get off punishment. I would use that to get the students to submit their assignments. All in all, combined with having a relationship with them, I was able to use that relationship to motivate them to get their work done because they felt the desire to want to do well and to perform. And they knew what the expectations were and they wanted to live up to them. The next rule that I used was don't smile before Thanksgiving. When I was a teacher's aide training to become a teacher, I learned this from the teacher that I worked with. Don't smile before Thanksgiving kind of goes the same. It goes kind of hand in hand with the start hard, go soft rule, except not smiling before Thanksgiving gave the kids the opportunity to see you kind of in a sternish, I mean business position. Even though Thanksgiving is a long way to go, I never really made it to Thanksgiving, but I would get as close as I possibly could. And it worked. Another rule that I had in place for myself was to be prepared. If those children see you coming into class and you have not done your lesson plans and you are fumbling and you are trying to get your stuff together, they know that you are not prepared. And the statement that it makes about you as an educator is not a good one. So no matter what, I always tried to be prepared for class, know what I was going to do, have the lesson plan laid out so that the lesson could flow like water. Of course, there were some mishaps and mistakes that came up, but that's not the same as not being prepared. As an educator, if you don't do anything else, you need to make sure that you are prepared. How else will you teach your children to do the same, to be organized and prepared and professional if you are not there to set the example? The next rule that I set for myself was set expectations and don't bend. And when I say don't bend, I mean don't bend. The expectations that you set for your students are what is going to drive them, motivate them, and push them to do what you would like for them to get done. If you do not have any expectations for your students, they are going to know and they are going to deliver. When you set your expectations for your students, you tell your students that they need to rise to the occasion and not expect for you to bend on your expectations. You must stand firm on them. And the children will appreciate it. Some of them will let you know. Some of them may not tell you until the end of the year. But those expectations that you put in place are going to allow your kids to give you the best that they have. Please do not judge your students by their appearance or by the way you may think that they may behave, because some of the most unexpected children be some of the most intelligent kids that will surprise you to no end. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my class rules that I put in place for myself. Continue to follow this series as I continue to reflect on my 20 years in education. Thank you.